That's right, it's another edition of the Rated RR podcast with Roshan Rai together with Ziaul Raushan. And if you thought the Singapore Premier League season ending will give us a bit of a stumbling block in terms of content, I think you are very wrong. So do continue to support us, like, share, subscribe, follow, do what you have to, because we're going to keep the good content coming to you. And speaking of good content, it's actually the season ending has cleared the schedule up for a lot of the people in the fraternity. One of those being the man you see in the screen. Some argue that they should be giving up awards for Assistant Coach of the Year. Some are saying otherwise. But either way, we are delighted to have Firdaus Kassim join us. Firdaus, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm good. Pleasure to be here, guys. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're good, man. We're delighted to get a chance to have a chat with you. And I think, Raushan and I have been quite impressed with Hougang's season, Hougang's campaign. But we want you on here because we're having the outsider's view. We want your view on the inside. I want to get your assessment of how you think the season went for your club.
Okay, I think you can look at it in two parts. Firstly, I think if you look objectively during the season as a whole, I think we're quite happy in terms of getting the AFC Cup spot. So we've met our objective. That's where we want to be. But on the other hand, I think if you look at the biggest issue for us this season was always the consistency. We didn't manage to get the results where against teams that we should be picking up wins against. So we're dropping points unnecessary here and there. I think it would be very interesting for us, for me personally, to see where we could be if we had gotten these few wins on the bounce, So for me, it's all in all, I'm very happy with how this season turned out. But of course, there's a lot of room for improvement. I think number one is the consistency, and then still have the defending issues that we need to address going into next season.
We'll delve into all those bits that you mentioned a little bit later on. But what I kind of wanted to get your thoughts on now, right here, is how would you sort of define Hougang's style of play?
How do I define Hougang's style of play? I think the masses also would agree that we a team who likes to high press very, very, very high. We are a team who works very hard against the ball. I think that's what we do best. I think with the ball, we do have our laps here and there. But at the same time, I think I was studying the SPL goals this season, all type of goals that the team scores actually. So it was like over 43% of the goals scored within 5 passes, So for me, with all this information that I get on hand and with the quality of the team that I have, with the speed on the flanks, and we've got a clinical finisher at the end. So for me, I think we work very, very hard in terms of transition to get a lot of goals, to exploit the space at the back. Many teams will call us a counter-attack team. I think that's fine. But like I said, we are a team who work very hard against the ball. So high pressing team, you can call us a counter-attacking team. But of course, there's always rooms for us to improve. Yeah, we want to evolve in terms of our style of play going into next season. But yeah, that's already this season. But I don't agree though if anybody says that we are a team who likes to sit back. No, we are proactive enough to go high up to get the ball. This is the only difference is that when we get the ball is further up the pitch. So we counter attack from a higher position, not from deep.
It's fascinating to hear you mention those numbers. I mean, 43%, stringing 5 passes, the goals, the amount of work that goes through this tactical setup. But why did you choose this tactical setup apart from the fact that the stats told you so? Is that something you are comfortable with? I mean, not just you, your coaching team, but why did you choose this?
I think last season I learned a lot about my team. Some of the qualities I had. I think the first 3 games of the season, we were trying to be more expensive in terms of possession. But we were not picking up points. And then come the COVID break, and then I get to understand my players a little bit more. And then after thorough discussion, the coaches, we agree that we maybe the way forward, and also because we lost Stipe. So that's a very important focal point that we lost. So we want, with the players that we had, I think it works very well for us to play on transition. But of course, it doesn't work all the time. They are against teams who don't want the ball, so we have to be more proactive in terms of the ball. And then this was something that we brought into this season with the same quality of players, with additional players coming in, and then this time around we have a clinical goal scorer, so it makes sense for us to play in that sense. For me as a coach, it's not about having a philosophy and I impose it on the players. I'm willing to adapt according to what I have. So this is how it is. If I have a different set of players, different team, then maybe I will do it differently.
At times this season, Hougang, weren't able to get results against teams in the bottom half of the table. You guys did really well against teams in the top half. You took points off Lion City Sailors, points off Tampines quite comfortably. Albirex was a bit of a struggle. But against sides in the bottom half, I wouldn't necessarily say struggle, but perhaps the results just didn't come. And you dropped a few precious points there. Why do you think that was the case?
I think it's consistency, Roshan. It's a young squad. If you look at it, it's a very young squad. I think the foreigners as well. Doi is 24, Kaishu is 24, Maksat is 22. So naturally, there will be up and downs in terms of the performances. And then we also lost crucial under 23 players. I think that is a very, very important, I would say, quota that we lost, because you need to have an able replacement in there. So when you have 3 or 4 players in the game during the team who's not maybe able to perform as well as before, then of course the team performances will take a dip. That's number one. And number two, I think I would always look at myself first, and the technical team would be the first to agree that we always look at ourselves first, what we can do better. I think it's a tactical problem for us because we were very rigid in terms of our tactical setup. We were only trying to play 4-4-2 for most of the games, but we know very well that this system is not working well for us, because to play this system, you need certain kind of balance. We dropped a number of points, actually, goals playing with this system. But because we were willing to take the risk also because of we were in a more comfortable position after the long break. So, and also had Gilberto coming in. So I think naturally we have to play 2 strikers.
You talk about this playing style that you try to implement, and clearly maybe it doesn't work when the team sits back too much. What I want to know is, how are you then going to address this issue? Because going forward, challenges will change, not just SPL, right? Next season, there's the continent as well. But I just want to know, what's the team doing to adapt, having learned from this year?
I think number one, we have to look into the recruitment to get the right players in. Again, to make sure that the system we play actually fits the players that we have. And of course, we know teams who maybe sit back to give you that much space. We have to do something about it. We have to, or it can only be done in training. But at the same time, I think very, very important is the recruitment process. I think we are on the verge of securing a couple of players whom I think would help us in the aspect next season.
Breaking sides, deep lying sides down is a problem in football, right? It's a big problem in football around the world as well. Do you think it's a situation where you need a specific kind of player, or do you think there are systems at play that you can use to, try and break those defenses? How would you go about this? How would you go about this tactically? Because people often talk about, they need a number 10. They need a number 10. I don't necessarily agree with that. To me, I think there are lots of teams who work around that with the systems that they've got. But what's your view on it?
At the end of the day, we can talk so much about the system, about the tactical this, about tactical that, but it's the quality of the players on the pitch who makes the difference, Because I think if you look at the salary structure of all the teams in the world, the attacking players, they are the highly paid players because they have something that, I can have the best system in the world, but if my attacking players don't have the qualities to break an attacking side down, there's nothing much we can do about it. Of course, we have to take the responsibility for it. For me, again, end of the day, it's about getting quality players further up the pitch, because they are the ones who will make the difference for you.
All right, let's move on then to something that I think fascinates lots of people watching the league this season. What's the setup like at Hougang, the coaching setup? What's your relationship like with Clement? What are your roles and responsibilities there?
Okay. Hougang, this past 2 seasons, the setup is very different from, I think, a lot of teams in SPL. So Clement oversees everything. So you could say that in a European context, he's like the manager who oversees everything. Everything runs by him, even though the technical, for me, myself and the other assistant coaches, we are the ones who runs everything on the training ground. But we go through by him. He ensures that this is what he wants. And of course, the system of play is very flexible. So we discuss at length before the start of the week, for example, of what are the strategies that we want to play against this team, and the training ideas and the training plans. And of course, we are the ones who execute it. But everything runs by Clement. He makes the final decision on the first 11. He makes the decision on the substitution as well. But one thing is, I admire him a lot, and I respect him also because he gives me a lot of authority and responsibilities to run a lot of things as well. So sometimes I think on the pitch, I think, people say the assistant coaches is on there, but it's not because I overstepped the line, but he gave me the responsibility.
He empowers you, yeah.
I prefer to be up in the stands where I can see everything, but they ban me from going up there because they say it's a COVID protocol. So
anyway, Hougang at the stands can't see much, so don't have a great view.
It's better than on the touchline, yeah.
Firdaus, I need to ask you this. Okay, we'll talk more about that structure and all that. What I find interesting to know is, when you joined Hougang, right, did you already know this was going to be your part to play in that coaching structure? That's why you wanted this job so much, because you're a hands-on guy, clearly. But did you want this type of a role specifically? That's why you're at Hougang?
No. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. I think Clement, he knows. You have to credit him a lot and he won the coach of the year. He deserves it because he's the one who does all the recruitment in terms of picking his technical staff to do the job for him. And if it works, then of course he gets the credit. So for me, when I came in, I didn't know that this would be what I would be in for. I mean, fully. We spoke at length, but as we grow on into the pre-season, I think he trusted me more and he gave me more roles for me to play. I've never done this in the past when I was abroad with other teams, because other head coaches, they have different way of working. So I'm very comfortable with how Clement is right now, and the bottom line is he's willing to take all the responsibilities for whatever result that comes his way. So it's not easier for any head coaches to say that they are willing to do that.
Hey, is it fair to say you're very satisfied with the role you have right now?
Of course I am. Definitely, it allows me to grow as well. So it allows me to make mistakes without being scrutinized, and also to make the right decision in the future when I'm properly ready to be a head coach one day.
All right, Firdaus, why don't you talk us through your coaching process now? Because you brought up something interesting just now. You spoke about having good recruitment to try and change things, about quality of players and things like that. Have you found it difficult or found it a challenge to implement your tactical ideas on the players or on the team?
No, not at all. For me, firstly, I would always look at the players that I have. So I would never take the philosophy as a young coach, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, or when I was playing youth football back then. I've always enjoyed possession for me. But over the years, I realized that football's won on transitions. So you can keep a lot of course, it's important to keep possession, but at the end of the day, it's about what you do with it. And for me, over the years, with the quality of players I have, you can see Nazrul, you have Shawwal, and you have Farhan on the left, Indraki on the right. These are speedy players, and the only way they can utilize the speed is when they have space in front of them. So of course, against bigger teams, we like to draw teams to come to us, and then we like to exploit with this behind. But for me, in terms of implementing, it wasn't difficult because the players already have it. It's completely different from, let's say, if I were to go to another team who has different abilities, then probably it would be difficult if I have a certain way that I want to play and try to force it on them. It will take longer time.
And I just need to talk about your experience in Thailand as well. You clearly have got to grips with your time in Singapore now, but what are the key differences between managing in Singapore as well as in Thailand in terms of working with the players?
Working with the players, I think over here, let's be honest, in terms of professionalism, it's a little bit difficult because they have other commitments as well, especially with schools and the players. Sometimes we know that they do have a second job outside for some of these players. But in Thailand, I think they're very dedicated. They want to be there because they know the pool of players waiting to take their place is huge. So even the younger boys, I do not know, they told me that they are attending universities and they have schools and this and that, but I've never seen them attending class. So
online class.
Late. They're way ahead. They're way ahead. So I have no idea how they manage the situation with regards to their school and football training, but the attendance wise has always been perfect for me. And the dedication over there as well is very, very good for me to manage. So it's very easy to because in Singapore, for example, sometimes you have a training plan, a training plan for 20 players and a training plan for 18 players is completely different,
Of course, yeah.
Because if you are very detailed in terms of positioning of what you want to do, and then come the day of the training, you have to change things on the spot. It's not good for us.
Yeah. I mean, I used to coach a school for about 4 years, and that used to be a massive problem. But at school level, right? You come in with like a fantastic training plan. We're gonna do this, that, and then like, coach, we only got 10 players today. but to hear it happening at the professional level, it's such a uniquely Singaporean. I don't know. It's a uniquely Singaporean experience. It sounds to me, Firdaus.
Right, we don't have this problem in Thailand, but maybe it happens in Malaysia, it happens in Laos, or it happens, we don't know, But this is the only comparison between Singapore and Thailand. It could happen around the region. You never
Possibly,
know.
Yeah.
What's your biggest, from your time in Thailand, what's your biggest takeaway from it? What have you brought to your coaching game based on your time in Thailand?
Oh, it's to learn and adapt, because I suffered relegation twice. And we were very insistent in terms of how we want to play. We want to play like this, and we play like this, we play like this. And at the end of the day, sometimes I think there were a couple of games where we were having possession. For example, we had 80% possession. 80% possession, but we lost the game. And the team left the stadium and feeling, they did good and they're happy with the possession. Yeah, it can happen, but as a coach, these are the points, these are the games that you feel you have to win. And I felt also, because for me during my time in Thailand, was a bit naive in many games, because even when we play against the bigger teams, we were going against them, and then we lost by 3 goals, 4 goals, and then end of the day, these are the games, these are the points that we lost that put us in relegation. So if you ask me, the biggest takeaway would be to adapt against teams, because in football, it's not just about the philosophy, but it's also about being strategy.
I think to hear you speak about it, I think a lot of the rest of the team should be afraid based on what Hougang is going to learn from this year and come back stronger next year, because you look like a very reflective guy. Let's zoom into the players now, the players that you had in this past year. I know Roshan is a big fan of this player, Farhan Khans. He's really embraced the opportunity given to him. But firsthand, how big is this kid's potential, man?
I think, before Firdaus answers,
I knew he will jump in.
He should have been one of the Young Player of the Year nominees, in my view, in terms of the consistency that he showed. Not only this year, he's 18 years old, and he's been playing regularly for Hougang since, I know he was 16. Sorry, Firdaus, I'm jumping in here. You go.
No worries. I just share with you, I think throughout the whole year, I've been getting a lot of messages about Farhan. I don't go on social media a lot, but when I do, and I have about 6-7 messages sometimes during the week, and they're asking me if Farhan is playing our position and this and that. And then, okay, number one, I'm not the head coach. So I can only,
now you say, hey, not my responsibility.
No. So I understand that Farhan, people would see him as playing our position. Yeah, of course, I would agree. But he's 18 years old. He needs to learn and play in a different position. Do you know that he's already have inquiry from a foreign team because his ability to be flexible playing in attacking position and he's able to defend. Honestly speaking, if you look at a lot of attacking players, even fullbacks, for example, this season, not many players have the ability to go forward and to come back and defend. Maybe Noradam, yes. Maybe Farhan, yes. But who else? You know. And I also look at the long-term future for Farhan. If you look at maybe Shake is gone, he retires, and then Hafiz retires, and then who else in the next in line? You know, in the fullback position, you don't have that many. But Farhan is 18, and last season he had a whole year playing as a winger. And this season as well, because of the circumstances where we had Shawwal, we had Idraki, and we had Kishon playing on the flanks, I cannot fit everybody in. I can play 323 players, and we can play Farhan there and Idraki there, and then maybe I have to put Shawwal on the left back, and then people will ask me the same question. But all in all, we are also thinking about the development of the players. We have to think about his ability to be able to defend and attack in the future for the national team as well. And he's a very, very big potential. Of course, he has his poor games, and you know, because he's 18, he's, like I said, young players will have ups and downs. But I can tell you, the next time, even in a couple of years, when he's having a dip, he knows how to manage it, and he knows now how to play against very strong wingers, because he played against Amin, he plays against Faris Ramli. I think the games that you all saw against in Jalan Besar was fantastic against Faris Ramli. I mean, Bosniak, for first two games he dealt very well against him, and you
still in his pocket. I heard. I heard. I don't know.
So you can see a player's 18 years old. People forget he's only 18. And he has ability to play in two positions. Whether he deserves to be a nomination list, for me, yes, of course he does. But again, it's up to the panels to decide.
I mean, I guess it's secondary, right? As long as there are people who know football, who appreciate him, and who understand. By the way, me saying no football, those people who know football is like a bit of a chocho at Raushan and his best friends. So I mean,
Raushan, if you're being honest, I think how often do you see? Okay, Noradam is there, but how often do you see a fullback getting recognized for their effort? You know, Noradam is there because he's playing in ICT Sellers and they're doing very well, and he's one of the key players. Of course, it's natural to be there. But otherwise, I think very hardly you see a goalkeeper or fullbacks getting recognized for their efforts.
Yeah, that's one of the problems, because when most people watch games or don't watch games, they base it on goal stats, assists, all these stats, rather than watching and looking at. So you actually have to be properly watching games, and that can sometimes be an issue with some of these awards and things like that. But moving on, Firdaus, I actually wanted to ask you. Without the under 23 quota, for example, would Farhan still have been given this opportunity to make an impact? Would he still have been playing?
I think, definitely. I think he would. But the only differences between having the quota and not is that you allow players to recover and rest. When you see that they are burnt out or with the performance taking a dip, and then this is a time for you to change. But with the under 23 ruling, you have to keep playing them and playing them and playing them and playing them, and no matter what they do in training and no matter how they perform, and you have to keep playing them, because we don't have the luxury of too many under 23 reserves or under 21 reserve to step up. I think this was one of the main reasons as well, where we also suffered in the second half of the season, because we were playing under 21 players in place to rest our under 23 players when they pick up injuries. But at the same time, you have to protect the players. We have to, So will he start? Maybe. Very likely, based on his ability, he would. And Idraki is also capable of doing so. But it will be nice now with the new rulings. I think we are able to rotate these players, or maybe even with Shawwal or whoever is on the flank next season.
Yeah. Was it a big headache for you all, that Idraki injury? Because you think about the quota, and I think you explained the fact that you had to reorganize. What was it like? Talk us through the processes of how you had to sort of reshuffle this. Because it's fascinating for me to hear coaches having to deal with the decision making around the quota.
Okay, so firstly, if you look in the second half of the season, most of the games that we play the 4-4-2 system. So 4-4-2 system would mean that you try to be more central in your attacks, and then when you have Idraki out, you have players coming in, Kishon coming in, maybe Naufal is there playing in that position. They can still give you the attacking outlet, but the quality of attacks, and it's different from what Idraki can give you. So you may lose the attacking threat on the sides, and then you are only trying to channel all your attacking play through the middle. And then when the defense get very compact, you're playing against a compact defense, of course, it's very difficult. And then you don't have an outlet going from the sides. And then naturally, it will just neutralize your attacking threat from the front. So that's the reason, I think, if you look at, we were trying to play a bit more direct. You look again, the goals that we scored against Tanjung Pagar, the first two goals of Tomoyuki Dois against Tampines, for example, it was very direct. We get the ball from here. It was something that we work in training. Kaishu or Shafiq, or even Shafiq gets the ball that Shawal scored against Geylang. It was all pre-planned work that we get the ball the moment we play the ball behind for the players to make the run. So we have to be as direct as possible to avoid being transition, because we were losing a couple of possession right in the middle, and then they have to come back, and then we want to avoid this. So we have the qualities of players up front. We have the Kaishu and Shafiq who can play very good passes. So it's a headache because of the quality of players on the bench as well. So we have an idea how we want to put in players, but with the under 23 players, I think some of the players, they have very minimal game time. I think Shafiq, Sharil, all this. Very minimal game time we had.
Firdaus, just quickly on Idraki, right? I know there's a lot of fans wondering about how his recovery is coming along. So can you just tell us how's he in the recovery process and looking good?
I met him last few days. He's doing very well. He will be starting he will start to run next week. The estimation date for him to come back will be maybe sometime in March or sometime in April. But again, we are not putting a lot of pressure on him because ACL injury, sometimes you need a proper rehab because he's still young. So you don't want to push it. But he's looking good. He's very happy with how he's working in the moment. And I told him to come back, tougher and maybe a little bit more.
With the taekwondo he does, I think should be no problem for him to bulk up.
He's not doing any taekwondo now. No?
But I was just touching on another one of your players. Iswan came in at mid-season, and at that point, I think Hougang needed to address the goalkeeping situation, let's say that. And Iswan is the national team keeper, and he came in and gave you that stability. How important was he to sort of give you that baseline to build from?
Well, after the Tanjung Pagar game, the first half of the season where our goalkeepers make some errors. Yeah, it does happen, but I think Ridwan came on after that to play very good games as well, very stable. But at the same time, I think what Izwan can give you is the distribution from the back. It's not just about playing the short distribution, but also the ability to play this long transition ball, which I think works for us in many games as well, to elevate the pressure and to also not to lose the ball needlessly from long balls. I mean, the other goalkeepers, they are also able to do it, but I think Izwan has that consistency. So it's in terms of stability, of course, he does provide us that, and I don't think you can blame him for any of the goals that we concede, because end of the day, when conceding goals, people only look at the centre backs, people only look at the goalkeepers, but it's not like that. There are many factors that because I spoke to the boys that, for example, the goals we played against Tanjung Pagar was because it was we conceded against Tanjung Pagar. It was a needless high press that we open up the space for them, for Shakir to turn and to play the long ball behind. The goals that we conceded against Albirex at home, the first goal, it was also a needless press. So it was not because of what happened at the back, but you have to see what actually was the root. The root was because we pressed wrong. So it opens the space there, and then it becomes, the space leads to another, and then people only see the end product, but it doesn't work like that. So for us, I think the technical team, we were very alert to see that these are the issues that we try to rectify in training. and hopefully, I think these are the things that we can try to weed out.
Firdaus, let's look ahead to next year. You've teased us a bit in terms of new signings, new arrivals, and I know you're not going to give me names, that's for sure. I don't expect it. You can surprise me, but I don't expect it.
I'm expecting it. I'm expecting a few names. Come on, man.
Okay, but let's just say, is it going to be from Singapore or from the region, or even further than that?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's a common knowledge.
Now's a great time for you to say I'm not the coach. I don't know.
Very good.
It's not a common knowledge. I think Maksat left. And also Doi, I think has an offer and he wants to try. He wants to challenge himself in different region.
Yeah.
So we are looking replacement for these two players at the moment. I'm not having very good night's sleep in the past few days because I'm actively scouting for players in the market, and we're trying to negotiate with them and trying to watch a lot of games to trying to be sure because of the limited financial resources that Singapore club has.
Of course,
we have to be really, really sure, and you have to bear in mind that you are competing against other clubs in the region who can pay more and more, so it's not so easy. And then which players are coming in, I can't really reveal. I don't want to give names, so I think this is something for you guys to find out maybe later.
Okay.
But definitely, we're trying to stabilize things at the back. We're trying to bring in more experienced players at the back, and also, like I said, this season one of the biggest factor was consistency because of the age factor, and because Doi, Kaishu, Maksat, all these are quality players, but they are only into their second or third season as a pro, So we're trying to bring in more experienced players, and hopefully when the team is not performing well, these players are the ones who can help to pick the rest of them up.
Okay, so I'm guessing the local cohort will generally be sticking around.
Yeah, mostly. Yeah.
Okay.
Mostly.
Okay. All right.
Say 95%. Yeah.
Okay. We'll let you off the hook for now, Firdaus. Look, AFC Cup potentially. I say potentially because again, it depends on the COVID situation in the region. What's your view on Hougang playing in that competition next year?
Yeah, we are a team who needs to be there. I think that was the minimum target this season. We told ourselves that we must be a team who competes in the AFC Cup competition. So, of course, last season I feel last season we were a bit naive in terms of going into games and how we approach games. And like I said, we want to play the way that we want to play last season at the beginning of the year. And then I think against Ho Chi Minh, it was a team that I felt if we were a bit more have more strategy against this team, we could have beaten them, but we were conceding goals very easily. Next season, I hope it will be different in terms of how we approach the game. We are more matured, we have more experience. We hope to do better, pick up more points, and hopefully put us in the contention to qualify for the next round. But again, this is depending on who you play against.
Before Raushan gets in with his final flourish, I just wanted to ask one question about Hougang. Tactically, next season, what can we sort of expect from them? How are you looking to sort of elevate the team?
Win. Win. I will do everything I can to win. So I told the boys, and I think Clement also shared the same idea as me. I think with the quality of players that we have, we should be competing very well against the other teams. But against Lion City Sailors, because of the qualities that they have, and we need to be more we need to prepare a proper strategy. I think this season we took 5 points off them.
Yes, brilliant.
Not because we were head and shoulders over them, but we had a tactical plan that we want to try and disrupt against them. So I think at the same time, we have to be flexible in this sense. So of course, we want to have more possession. This was the idea this season, but it didn't work out. But next season, we already identified the players that we want to bring in to help us stabilize in terms of keeping the ball a bit longer, and also to maintain, like I said, football is being one in transition. So we want to be even more dangerous on counter attacks next season with the players that we identified. Again, all in all, I'm very, very excited about next season. So I'm really planning about the pre-season ideas and philosophy that we want to implement for next year.
And we wish you all the best for next season. We are excited. I mean, I'm truly excited listening from you, and you've really whet my appetite, especially with the signings and all that. But coach, before you go, one question that is running on most people's minds, so I have to ask it, right? Is there any desire or ambition to become a head coach in the near future?
In the near future, maybe, but I'm not hard up for it at the moment, because I've always told myself that when the opportunity comes for a young coach, it might not come in, because it's either you have to do well in your first appointment, So again, I'm using this opportunity to learn as much as possible, to make the mistakes. So this is why I think Clement has been very brilliant with me. So he allows me to make certain key decisions, but of course, at the end of the day, he will take responsibility, and I'm very happy to be in this position at the moment. So again, in the future, yes, but you never know when it is. I'm still in 34. Maybe in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, you never know.
And any targets in terms of clubs, realistic and dream?
Targets?
Not targets, like dream, why not?
Well, I think when you think of potentially stepping into that head coaching role, are there any teams or any particular nations you want to sort of coach in?
Or leagues even, yeah.
Or leagues, yeah. You want to coach
in the long run, of course, everybody thinks about going to Japan and Korea and all this. I think this is in the future. Hopefully, I would love to coach there. That's why I think I'm also trying to learn the language at the moment. Korean and Japan. So, because to be honest, if you want to work in certain countries, with the CVs that I have, there are maybe a million other coaches who have better CVs than me, but the only X factor that you can be different from others is you can speak the language, So, but first and foremost, if I were to coach a club, I would rather be in a club whom I'm able to express myself in the first language. So where I would be, I don't know. I don't have any dreams. I just want to take the team as far as possible to play in the Champions League, play in the AFC Cup. So hopefully that will happen in the future.
Firdaus, it's been really great speaking to you. I think it's not an overstatement to say you're one of Singapore's brightest footballing minds. That's at least what I've gathered throughout our conversation. So thank you so much for setting time aside. We wish you all the best for your season preparations, as well as for everything that lies ahead. Rosh, anything to add?
No, Firdaus, thanks for taking the time. And look, speaking from a neutral's perspective, we're all for more teams being competitive in the league. So we hope to see Hougang next season as well, taking points as they did this season against sides in around them, and perhaps even challenging for the title. So fingers crossed. Great entertainment for the rest of us. Thank you, Firdaus, once again for your time.
Thank you, guys.